Good evening, good morning, and good night. Welcome to Inappropriate Radio. It's your host, Tashana. Let's get into this. So, hi guys. I hope all is well. I hope all is well. Tonight the topic is a question. Well, it's not a question. Well, it is a question. If the spirit world wasn't real, then why ... Finish the statement, okay? So it's actually like a series of questions, if you will. If the spirit world isn't real, then why can people prophesy over your life? If the spirit world isn't real, then why do you dream? If the spirit world isn't real, then why do you have the same dreams as other people? That's actually happened to me more than once. If the spirit world isn't real, then why can people interpret your dreams for you and be absolutely correct? If the spirit world isn't real, then how do you explain the Mandela effect, soulmates and or twin flames, or childbirth? How do you explain a whole entire human coming out of another whole entire human? How do you explain that? I believe the premise of this conversation that the creator is having us think about is because a lot of people still haven't gotten it yet. They're clueless, and a lot of people are looking towards sacred texts, although these sacred texts have many different scriptures and surahs and all these different stories about the spirit world in itself, whether it's referred to as paradise, the afterlife. There's many names, right? And those are just portions of the spirit world, right? The afterlife is not the same as your dream state, but those are all a part of the spirit world, right? There's many different dimensions in the spirit world. We in the 3D live in a multi-dimensional reality, and it allows us to experience different portions of the spirit realm. If the spirit world isn't real, then why can you finish someone's statement? Why can you read minds? Why do psychics exist? Why does death exist? Okay, why don't we, and they said, it used to be back in the days, but why don't we live like trees for like hundreds and thousands of years, right? They said we used to, but let's just focus on what we know to be absolutely true, right? There's so many different instances where I can say, okay, yeah, that was definitely spiritual. That was definitely spiritual. But that is my perspective, my experience, my life, my understanding, right? When it comes to you and me not convincing you, but just trying to give you a little insight on the realness of the spirit world, then I would use my own testimony, but I will have to pose a series of questions for you to understand on your own. Like, how do you explain us in the earth being majority water? Of course, we know it's from the creator. We were all created from one source. We discussed that. And this is common knowledge, right? We all know that we're majority water, and this earth is also majority water. So do we come from the earth? Do we come from the same thing? Did the same thing that made the earth make us, right? You have to look at these questions from multiple perspectives, right? When you answer the question, you can't just answer it one way. You have to look at it and all the possibilities that may be able to answer that question, and it'll start guiding you in a right direction. A lot of people shy away from religion because they associate a lot of different things with it. Unfortunately, the stigma that is associated with certain religions, it pushes people away, by default, pushing them further away from God. I'm not saying you need the book to absolutely be closer to the creator, but the books will answer a lot of your questions. So if you have questions or things that you just can't quite fathom, you need to, number one, first understand that everything is not for us to understand, right? This is stated in so many different ways in text, in all of the books. Can give you surahs and Bible verses right now, but you can just look it up, right? There's tons of different passages where we're blatantly being told that it's probably not for your understanding, right? 2, are you asking the questions to begin with, right? We make assumptions, but are we asking the proper questions for the creator to actually answer? Another thing, are you looking at things correctly? Like the things that are in front of you that can possibly answer your questions, are you perceiving them correctly? Our own understanding is our own understanding. That doesn't mean that it's the right thing, right? You have your own reality, and then there are other realities that collide with your own reality. And whatever is the most in alignment with your thinking is what you're going to more than likely be attracted to. And sometimes, if you weren't groomed to be spiritual, or if you weren't groomed in certain religious households, if you were groomed by mainstream ideations and concepts, then you're probably not going to have a spiritual understanding. Okay, so start asking God out loud if you're struggling with understanding, if you're struggling with your faith, if you're struggling, or if you just have a question that you've had for years. Ask out loud. If you don't feel drawn to any books, write it down. And I promise you, it'll come in many forms, on the TV, on the radio, through different conversations that you'll overhear people having. It will come in so many ways. Sometimes you'll just get a download out of nowhere. It is your obligation to understand what the Creator wants you to do once He places the understanding of certain spiritual concepts on you. Meaning, once He enlightens you, it's now your responsibility to walk through the door that He's opening, right? Him giving you the understanding to something is Him inviting you to understand it more and further investigate whatever it is, especially if it is in regards to Him, to your purpose and why He created you. You don't have to understand things that don't have anything to do with you, right? It doesn't matter. Like, what is it to you? But even matters that do concern you, if you don't understand them, there may be a time set for you to have that understanding, right? Your spirit and your soul's journey has a lot to do with putting pieces together. It's like one big puzzle, right? And you are a very, very, very small piece in that puzzle. And you have to find out where you are supposed to be, what other things fit with you to make the puzzle be in its rightful place, right? You have a rightful place and everyone else does. You have people that are connected to you by your blood, people that are connected to you by your purpose. And everything else are just lessons. Okay? You don't have the greater answer unless the Creator gives it to you. And when He does give it to you, it's because He's trusting you with the responsibility to carry out certain missions. So if you have visions, if you have dreams, if you are highly sensitive and you have more than 2 of the voyances, clairaudient, clairaudient, clairvoyant. Like if you have more than if you have two or more, then these are spiritual gifts that you have inherited in order to communicate with the Creator. Not everyone has that strong discernment. Not everyone. Now, and this is the flip side to that, right? I don't know if you guys have been watching the news or whatever, but all these people freaking out on these planes, right? Now, number one, you are physically close to the higher planes, to the astral world. Like, your body is physically there. You're in a vessel that is using transmissions to function, right? And you're going literally through these different dimensions all at once. So it is not shocking that people are acting out or saying that they're seeing demons, or people are actually becoming vessels that these demons get to act out through, because these portals are open and they're literally plopped open and falling over all over the place. And if you are not vibrating at a certain level, you can be used. We've discussed this. So it is your responsibility to be fully consciously aware of your movement, of your thoughts, of the people, the places, the things, the food you're eating, everything. Everything is vibrationally connected to something else. And it may seem very minute, but one small, needle can knock the whole, foundation around. If you're not careful, you will start to invite people and energies into your life that don't belong, all because your awareness of the spiritual world is going ignored, or taken for granted, or misunderstood. Your ability to understand is going to vary by your willingness to be a participant, to be a part of the greater good, the higher consciousness. And even within that higher consciousness, there are different levels within that consciousness, because everybody has different assignments. Everybody has different levels of awareness. Everybody has different spiritual rankings. Your ability to operate in that spiritual context is all going to be determinant upon the work that you're doing in your waking life. The effort that you put, the energy that you put into building your spirit is what's going to have you upgrade in all of those different spiritual areas. And it is not a task that everyone will have in this lifetime. You might have to die a few times, or you probably lived enough that you don't have to really do shit, right? So it's all up to what God created for you in this right here and now. Okay, it's your responsibility to understand that. And if you don't, you need to ask. Maybe God doesn't want you to understand. That's also another factor. Again, we don't have to understand everything. So, before we go, I just want to say, ask yourself questions. If you're still struggling with believing, if you're having trouble with your faith, if you're not seeing any movement, because that's something that I've dealt with, me not seeing the movement, and then I'm asking God, like, okay, why am I not motivated to do certain things that I know I should be? And He's like, because it's not time yet. Why am I still doing certain things, or reacting to certain things in a certain way? Everything has a schedule. These dimensions are literally portals, right? They open at a certain time, they close at a certain time. So don't stress yourself out and beat yourself up over what you don't understand, what's not clicking, or what doesn't make sense. Even if it's so odd and you're like, God, are you telling me to do that? Probably, because the spirit world is a dictator of this world, and vice versa. But everything happens in the spirit world first and has to be translated here. But I'm going to end this here. And I do love you guys. I hope all is well. Hope y'all drinking your water, eating your fruit and vegetables, and sipping on your tea because it's free. And it's going to be getting dark earlier. So be mindful, okay?